Bonjour and welcome to this class again. So today we'll be talking about the conditionnel présent, conditional things, which is basically used, to talk about what you actually want to make a wish. You want to express a wish, you want to express a polite request, an advice, or if you want to talk about an action, you want to express an action which is subject to a condition. So basically, that's what we use conditionnel présent for. The formation of conditionnel présent is by you adding these imperfect endings. We call them imperfect because they are used for imperfect things in French, like imparfait. But these endings, you add them to the infinitive of regular verbs. So if the verb you are using, you want to use conditionnel for, is a regular verb. So you add these endings to the infinitive according to each personal pronouns. This is for je, tu, il ou elle, on, nous, vous, il ou elle, pluriel. D'accord? But if it is an irregular verb, so we've got to look for the stem that we use for future things for irregular verbs. Irregular verbs, most of them, they have a stem, particular stem that you have to use, to conjugate them in future things. So it is the same stem that is used with these very endings to form their own conditional things, the conditionnel présent. Now, for regular verbs, if the infinitive already ends with an E, so we have to drop the E before adding the imperfect things. Okay, I'm going to show you all that. And now, like here, let's assume a polite request. You go to a restaurant and you want some lemonade. You can say, "Hey, bonjour, je voudrais de la limonade. Je voudrais de la limonade." Okay, I would love some lemonade. So this is a verb, an irregular verb which stem we use here plus the ending. So you're going to see it is verb vouloir, to want. Now, this is a regular verb here, acheter. J'achèterais une villa si je gagnais la loterie. And this one is an action that is subject to a condition. Like, I would buy a mansion if I won a lottery. So buying a mansion in the past is subject to winning the lottery. You understand? So basically, that's the kind of use we have for conditionnel présent in French. So looking at some regular verbs like chanter, finir, prendre in this context, though it might be an irregular verb, but though in this context it's pretty much regular because of the way it functions. Sortir, finir, all of them, you can just see chanter. The infinitive is there, chanter. It doesn't change. We just add the endings, okay, to them. Finir, likewise. Sortir, the same. Now, if you look at prendre, you will see that it ends with an E, so we've got to drop the E before we add, the ending, just like what, I explained earlier. So take a very good look at this for regular verbs in French. This is a structure to have your conditionnel présent. Okay. Now, so still with regular verbs, sometimes you have some change of stems. There are change of stems that take place. For instance, the verb acheter. Acheter becomes achète. So the E here becomes E accent grave. It takes this accent. Okay, it's still the infinitive, but it's take the accent before we add the ending. We say j'achèterais, j'achèterais, because it needs to now have the sound e. J'achèterais une voiture. I would buy a car. So same with jeter, to throw something away, throw away, jeter. So which becomes jeter, something like that. The T is doubled, and then we have the ending. Elle jetterait les ordures. Elle jetterait les ordures. She would throw the trash away. She would throw the trash away. Okay. We also have appeler, which doubles the L before, adding this. This is majorly, for conditional things. Remember that this, we are talking about the conditionnel présent. So, nous les appellerions. We would call them. Okay. Now, for verb essayer, there are some other verbs like that, but essayer, the Y becomes I, before we add the ending. Essayer. Essayeriez-vous les vêtements? Essayeriez-vous les vêtements? So the Y sound is still there even when you read it. Essayeriez-vous les vêtements? Would you try the clothes? All right. So these are very important, for us to take off, for you to take note of, basically when you are using these verbs, these regular verbs. Now let's look at some the irregular verbs I was talking about earlier. See here they are verbs like aller, devenir, devoir, envoyer, être, avoir, faire, falloir, pleuvoir, pouvoir, recevoir, savoir, valoir, venir, voir. They all have a stem that you have to use. Aller, the stem is ir. Devenir, deviendre. Devoir, devre. Envoyer, envers. Être, ser. Avoir, or. Faire, you also like faire, but not spelled the same way. Falloir, foudre. If you're looking for the meaning of these verbs, you can find that out yourself. Basically, you can do that, can help you to say, oh, what is falloir? What is pleuvoir? Okay, pleuvoir, pleuvre, pouvoir, pour with double R. You have the recevoir, recevre. And this is recevre, savoir, sort, valoir, vaudre, venir, viendre. All right? Voir, ver. So some of them, they look very alike, like devenir. If you take devenir, it's something like venir. You see? Valoir, falloir, faudre, vaudre. So they're almost the same. Savoir, or, avoir, or, savoir, sort. Okay, you can see they pretty much look alike. So those ones can help you. But these are the irregular verbs that I was talking about. You have to use their future tense, the stems that we use for the future. It is to these stems that we add those imperfect endings to actually make conditionnel présent. D'accord? For example, to have in French is avoir. So the stem is or. So if I add AIS, it says j'aurais. I would have, j'aurais. Tu aurais. Il ou elle aurait. Nous aurions, vous auriez, and so on. If we take être, to be, the future stem is ser, ser. So we add the endings to them. Je serai, nous serions, tu serais, and so on. Aller, the stem is ir, j'irai, nous irions, elles iraient, and so on. Faire, to do or to make, is faire. Je ferai, but now it pronounced je ferai. Tu ferais, nous ferions, vous feriez, il ou elle ferait, elle ferait, and so on. So this is how it simply works. Okay, this is simply how it works. The conditionnel, work. So let's take some examples. Ils aimeraient voir un bon film. Ils aimeraient voir un bon film. So we have the verb aimer, to like. So we have the infinitive aimer with er, and then the ending aient. Ils aimeraient voir un bon film. They would like to watch a good movie. Ils préféreraient un café au lait. So we have préférer, préférer, to prefer. He would prefer coffee with milk. Il préférerait un café au lait. Pourriez-vous m'aider? Could you help me? So here we have a pouvoir. Okay, it's an irregular verb. Okay. Nous devrions travailler plus. We should work more. We should work more. So we have the verb devoir here. And then we have the ending. We have the stem rather. Devre is an irregular verb. The same here. Que feriez-vous? What would you do? What would you do? Que feriez-vous? So we have the verb faire, which is an irregular verb with the stem faire and then the ending iez because of vous. All right. So this is the structure, how it simply works. Now I have some assignments here for you that you have to do to practice. Okay. Put the if this you just watching this, outside, you can just put the answers in the comment section. If it's in class, then you definitely have an assignment to do with that. So conjugaison simple, this is the first exercise. Conjugaison simple, like simple conjugation. Okay, it says conjugate these verbs in conditionnel présent: aller, faire, venir, avoir, pouvoir, être. Okay, je aller à Paris si j'avais de l'argent. I would go to Paris if I had money. That's what it means. And then with the other one, so this is very simple, just conjugation. Now you have a second one which says choisir un verbe dans la liste et mets-le au conditionnel. So choose a verb on the list and put it in conditional tense. Okay, so you have to read the sentence, understand the sentence for you to know which one to choose here to fill in this gap. The third one, this is the third exercise, transformation. Transform les phrases au conditionnel présent. So you change the sentences to conditionnel. For instance, je vais à la plage. Je vais. So here we have verb aller, which becomes j'irai à la plage. So you can do the same to these ones. All right. So if you're just watching, just come across this, you can do this and put the responses in the comment section. If you're in the class, definitely there's going to be, an assignment or a quiz or later on this. So I hope you guys have learned something today. Please, if you have questions or anything, do not hesitate to reach out to me, and I will try as much as possible to respond to that. Au revoir.